What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Monday, coming at you with good news from the Tennessee Titans, which we'll touch on a little bit. But this morning, we're talking Tennessee Vols after an absolute second half collapse at Georgia Saturday afternoon, where Tennessee was up 21-17 against the number 3 Bulldogs in the country. And then 3 turnovers came very quickly in that second half, and the Vols fall after 27 unanswered points to Georgia. The Vols have a big quarterback issue. That's the most obvious thing anybody could say on a Monday morning, but that's the truth. Big quarterback issue, how to fix it. We have some ideas. And then who's to blame most for that loss at Georgia? How does it impact your view and outlook on the Vols season the rest of the way? And then we'll talk some SEC as a crazy weekend in the SEC with a lot of surprises through the first now 3 weeks of the season. And then in the show topic, Zach, it's National Online Bank Day, which is a weird thing to have a day of, but it's National Online Bank Day. So we'll play into that a little bit and ask you guys a banking question at the end of the show. Welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. Ole Miss, very close.
Very close. Well, put up a better performance than your team. So I'll take that. But before we get going.
I wasn't taking a shot at you. I was giving you props.
That was kind of a shot.
It was not a shot. It was not a shot.
I want to win. I don't want to get close. I want to win. That's how
you won the bet side of things because it was 23.5 and you picked Ole Miss to cover. So they covered.
I know that. I like my bets. But before we get rolling, I do want to ask you guys to share the broadcast, bottom right corner of your screen. If you're watching on Periscope/Twitter, you'll see those 3 little dots. You can share the broadcast that way. Make sure that we pop up in your Twitter followers timeline. That would help us out a great deal. Plus, want to know their opinion and reaction about what Tennessee did over the weekend against Georgia. Felt good through 2 quarters of play, but that's why they play 4 of them. So we'll dive into that deeper, get your opinion, get our opinion, and move forward. But also on Facebook, cannot forget to share the show for you guys. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. That is share now to public. Sharing is caring. As we say on this show, we need to pop up in your Facebook friends newsfeed. So let's get this party started. Got a lot to talk about. Good news from the Titans, though. It looks like they're one step closer to playing Tuesday night.
Yeah, let's get it going officially. Welcome in the A to Z Sports. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports, like our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for our show, for our business, and for you guys. Renters Warehouse Nashville, the professional landlords in the Nashville area. Renterswarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. Mandu, the Pulse of Fitness, where 1 15-minute workout equals 5 hours in the weight room because of full body electronic muscle stimulation. Mandu.com, your first workout is free. The Tucker Agency, Nashville's independent insurance agency, giving you relief on your personal insurance at tuckertn.com. Calvin and Subtle is where to go for your new hardwood floors and finishings, calvinandsettle.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute. Injuries happen in life. Make sure you turn to the best. boneandjointtn.org. That's boneandjointtn.org. So, Zach, you watched a lot of SEC games and over the weekend. I did as well. The Tennessee Vols and the Georgia Bulldogs, a lot of hype surrounding that game going into it. The first half looked very interesting. And Tennessee had that 21-17 lead. Vols defense played really well. Jarrett Garantano with a couple dimes to Josh Palmer, who made some spectacular catches for touchdowns. And Vol fans had to be feeling pretty good about themselves at halftime. We did a halftime show, and that's kind of what the general feeling was. Felt pretty good. But the second half was a complete collapse. So, Zach, what was your initial reaction as you watched that game and now have reflected on what happened in the second half for the Tennessee Vols?
No, the Vols didn't want it enough in the second half. I'll talk about what I looked at as far as their performance, but they had a great opportunity to really seize the moment and seize. I mean, Florida had lost, right? They're playing for a top of the SEC East when I don't even know how long it's been since they had been in that position this early in the season because of the shakeup of the schedule. And they didn't do it. They played some of their worst football in the second half, third and fourth quarter, and it falls on a lot of different people. We'll talk and play the blame game here in a second, but disappointed in what Tennessee built through 2 quarters of play and how they reacted. I don't know whether that was Jeremy Pruitt not getting them ready. Well, they had some ups and downs prior to the halftime. So it's kind of trending that way. But at halftime, man, you got to come out here just amped and fired and ready to go. And they didn't do that. And ultimately, Georgia blew them out.
Yeah, for sure. And I did the post-game show with Jonathan Crompton here, right where you're watching right now. And really, I thought the first half was as ugly as Tennessee could have played because of all the penalties. At one point, they had more penalty yards than offensive yards, and then they got things going there. DeAndre Johnson gets kicked out of the game for a stupid ejection on the targeting, a dumb decision to headbutt the quarterback. And I feel like Jarrett Garantano played really well in the first half. They only had 2 incompletions, but it all fell apart. And this leads us to our first question is, who do you blame the most for the Vols' absolute collapse in the second half against Georgia? Because that's what it was. It was an absolute collapse of a performance. The defense is, I think, the only aspect of the Vols program that you cannot blame because the Tennessee defense played very well until it got worn the hell out in the fourth quarter. I mean, with the 2 turnovers, the defense gave up 1 yard on the ensuing 2 possessions combined from Georgia and forced field goal attempts. So who is most to blame for that second half collapse at Georgia for the Tennessee Vols? We played this game on Saturday in the postgame show, but Zach, I'm really curious to see how you feel about this. But before we get your answers to who's most to blame, let me tell you guys about Mandu, the pulse of fitness, where one 15-minute workout equals 5 or more hours in the weight room. Mandu.com is where to go. Your first workout is absolutely free. It's 0 impact on your joints. It's electronic muscle stimulation. It's fantastic, and it gets deep within your muscle fibers. It grows and builds functional muscle. It activates that hard-to-burn body fat, and it also is pandemic safe because it's by appointment only. Mandu.com. Your first workout is absolutely free.
Yeah, A to Z Sports talking about Tennessee, Georgia now atop the SEC East after that win. It was a tough one. It was a tough one for I watched that game in a room full of Tennessee Volunteer fans, and the temperature and the tune changed within the few hours we were watching that game. It took a huge shift to a lot of curse words when mistakes were made in the second half, and Georgia took advantage of them. I'm going to start here, Austin, because I did watch the majority of the post-game show with you and Jonathan Crompton. I thought it's good content. If you want live reaction and want the ability to live react, we provide that for you for halftime and post-game on every single Tennessee game all season long. But I thought you guys were too easy on Jared Garantano. You were quick to put blame on the coaching staff and on Jeremy Pruitt on the offensive line, but you guys didn't sack up and blame the man that needs to be blamed. It's Jared Garantano. It is. And I maybe that's a Crompton QB complex.
Yeah, probably so.
Maybe that's you being orange-colored glasses. I don't know what that is.
I've been so hard. I was – Zach.
But you blame the wrong guys. You blame the wrong guys, Austin. You
Zach,
did.
The question is, who do you blame most? And so what I did is I blamed the coaches most because – and then I blamed the offensive line.
Whose game was this?
Whose game was it?
Whose game was this to prove the value of what he is to a program?
Jeremy Pruitt. I can answer the same question for Jeremy Pruitt.
Incorrect. The results are in, and that's wrong because the answer, Jeremy Pruitt's still going to be here. You know who could not be here? Is Jared Garantano. This was his opportunity. We talked about it. He's going to have to do more than throw 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's going to have to play outstanding. He's going to have to not turn over the football. He's going to have to do all of these things that he didn't do. And therein lies the problem. Jared Garantano is the issue. And he should play. He's the blame. He is to blame. You can't fumble those footballs. And yeah, you can say it's the offensive line. Yeah, look, there are both sides need to stand up, but you have to protect the football at all costs. You have to play better. I'll ask you this, Austin. Do you think Jared Garantano played good enough to win in the second half?
No.
Did he play good enough to win through the full game?
No, obviously not.
That's the problem, because the
Zach,
one problem that Tennessee has is their quarterback situation. We had a lot of question marks coming into this football game, and this was his time to shine, to prove that he could beat the big team early on in the season. And you know what he proved? That he can't. He cannot take this team to where they need to go. Jeremy Pruitt needs to realize it. I don't know who's behind him that has, let's just face it, the nuts to come in there and take this program over. But Jared Garantano's play told me that he doesn't have him to be the man that Tennessee Volunteer fans need him to be, and the program needs him to be, and Jeremy Pruitt needs him to be.
Zach, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying as a big picture opinion about
Is he
Jared
part of your blame pie?
Yeah, absolutely he is. But that wasn't the question.
Oh, was he after the post-game show? Was he a part of your blame pie?
Jared Garantano? Absolutely he was. I already answered your question. He absolutely was a big part of the blame pie. He's third, in my opinion.
That's ridiculous.
Third. Yes. Because what do you want?
Ridiculous.
All right, let's read some comments. Who is most to blame for the Vols loss at Georgia? Who is most to blame for the Vols loss at Georgia? Zach Reagan says the idiot that tweeted about no UT turnovers so far this year. That was Zach himself, which he claims for the jinx. Kim says the offensive line. Brad says the O-line ain't that great. Kyle says the play calling. They were stacking the boxes. JG had no time. Louis just says Georgia was to blame. Jake Kennedy says Cade Mays with all his penalties and letting all the hurries and sacks in. Jeff Rubel going with the entire offense, that coaches included. Hunter says you have to start with the coaching. Tommy blaming Jim Chaney. Derek saying the O-line couldn't get the running game going to help out JG. Ryan Williams says it was JG and the O-line. VU All Access is right. Georgia has great athletes on defense, but offense is shaky with quarterback and running back inconsistent. We'll talk about the whole SEC as a whole later on. Justin says Jim Chaney's a dinosaur. Said it when he was hired, still saying it. I don't think Jim Chaney's like the biggest issue. I think he's limited because Jared Garantano is limited. But Jim Chaney did not have a good day yesterday or Saturday it was. Let's see. Brad says it's obvious that Garantano sucks. Dom says definitely stuck with Jared Garantano too long. Zach, in my opinion, like the biggest thing to blame is Jeremy Pruitt, because his team was playing so undisciplined in that football game. They had 5 pre-snap penalties. They had 4 false starts on their offensive line. Jeremy Pruitt knows that Georgia does that goofy defensive line stunt before the snap. Jeremy Pruitt should have gotten his offensive line ready to play that game mentally and physically, because the offensive line that was out there getting hype videos made about him, about being TVA, about being big badass unit offensive line, all being 330 pounds and road grading Missouri, like those guys took the day off on Saturday. They got bullied the entire game. Tennessee had -1 rushing yards at the end of the game. Georgia had if you take away the botch snap that lost 30 yards for Georgia that counted as rushing, Georgia ran for over 200 yards, and that was a good defensive performance. And Marquis says JG 100%. No, that offensive line was atrocious. They couldn't get any push whatsoever for the run game. They couldn't pick up any pressure when it came to blitzes and what Georgia was doing, and Jeremy Pruitt did not get his guys ready. So in my opinion, Pruitt, because of stupid penalties and being unprepared on the offensive line, that's number one. And the offensive line being second. And Jared Garantano had no chance back there for the second half. He had no chance.
Are you kidding me? That's a quarterback's job, is to make a chance, and he can't do it. He can't run away from anybody. He's like looks fundamentally slow.
Yes,
honestly,
he's a slow process.
That's who. And so take away what you're saying and look at the quarterback position for a second, Austin. The issue is with him. It's always been with him. And so, like, we shouldn't be surprised that we're blaming him for the loss. This was a massive opportunity. They got blanked in the second. They didn't score a point in the second half.
I'm well aware. They only crossed midfield.
Let me speak. No, I'm not going to let you speak because I need you to listen up on this. In the second half, they didn't score a single point. Whose responsibility is that? That's the quarterback's responsibility.
Offense, Zach.
It's to put points on the board and to make sure you drive your team down and give your guys opportunities to score points. And the other thing that I think drives everybody nuts is this third game of the season at Georgia. If you, like, midway through the third quarter, great leaders, and you see this, they are emotionally pissed off and distraught. You saw Tom Brady last Thursday night against the Bears. I didn't see that fire with Jared Garantano that is so emotionally torn up because they're not playing correctly, to rally their guys, to get in the offensive line. Look, Tom Brady had the same damn problem last Thursday night. His guys couldn't block for him. JG has to go over there and take a stand and take the leadership role and say, guys, you better get your shit together because I'm getting destroyed and you're costing us this game. That's what I want to see out of him, and I don't believe that he has it. And if he doesn't, he's not the guy for the Tennessee Volunteers.
Look, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Look, Jared Garantano is what he is as a quarterback. He's not good enough. He's not the guy. He's not the answer. He is simply a placeholder because he's the only option they have right now. That is what Jared Garantano is. And he's slow with his processing. His clock internally is not quick enough. He doesn't know when to get rid of the football most of the time. He makes good decisions for the most part, but he made 3-4 really bad decisions in the second half of that Georgia game, and it cost the Vols an opportunity at a huge upset. But we know what Jared Garantano is. The offensive line was the biggest disappointment in the game.
You can't blame him.
I am blaming him. I'm just saying he's not the most to blame. Like, why can't you get that through your head? Like, I'm placing blame over a lot of people. Jeremy Pruitt, bad game as a head coach for not having his guys prepared mentally and physically and having them commit stupid penalties and play dumb. Then the offensive line that was big-headed and cocky and arrogant and got their asses chewed out and showed out on national TV. And Jared Garantano, who is who he is, got lit up because of the first two. That Jared Garantano needs help. He has to have a lot of things go right around him for him to be successful.
Then you need to find another playmaker.
Yes, obviously. Yes, I agree with you. That's why 2 weeks ago, I was talking about a timeline to get Harrison Bailey ready because I saw against South Carolina that Jared Garantano ain't it. And he's not it, but he's what they have right now. But the offensive line was the most disappointing aspect to that entire game, not Garantano, because Garantano was what he's been the last 3 years. The offensive line road graded Missouri last week, and then they just got road graded themselves. Like, that was the biggest disappointment, and they should be the most a part of the blame game in this. Jared Garantano deserves blame because you can't throw that football with the interception. You have to be able to hang on to the ball in the pocket, not fumble 3 times. But the offensive line was embarrassing. Trey Smith's an All-American. Trey Smith is probably a first-round draft pick. On the strip sack fumble return for a touchdown, Trey Smith did not touch a single Georgia defender. He let 2 guys, one guy go to his left, one guy go to his right, and one of those guys is who sacked Jared Garantano. The offensive line was a massive disappointment on Saturday at Georgia.
You can't come out in the second half, punt, fumble, touchdown, downs.
Well, they came out in the second half and went fumble, interception, punt, fumble.
It's disastrous. The punts are on the quarterback. The interception is on the quarterback. The fumble, partial blame for the
like Zach. You're talking like an amateur football viewer.
I think you're in denial.
Denial about what?
If you're gonna start calling names, then I'll call your ass out. And I think you need to get this through your mind.
What am I in denial about?
Blame the correct person.
I am blaming everybody. What am I in denial about? Tell me what I'm denying.
You're in denial that you're not trying to blame the right person to be blamed.
I am.
The reason they lost that game is because bad quarterback play in the second half.
And awful offensive line play the entire game. The entire game, offensive line play. Awful, awful, awful. Most to blame is the coaching staff and Jim Chaney. Where were the adjustments? Jim Chaney did not do anything to help Garantano in the second half. They couldn't run the ball. I saw national writers on Twitter tweeting like, how come Tennessee's not running the ball? Because they couldn't run the ball. How am I in denial about the situation?
Because I think you're a part of the UT fan base, right? Like I think sometimes the Tennessee is not doing the correct things to win the games that they need to win. This was an unbelievable opportunity for the Tennessee Volunteers up at half. Now, they backdoored their way for Georgia to score points at the end of the second quarter, but they had the lead, or they actually stopped on the goal line. They had all the momentum going into the second half, and I don't know why they just wet the bed.
Because the offensive line is fast. That's why.
Maybe they don't have the quarterback with the wherewithal to lead them. The quarterback, as we said, and you know this, it is the most important player on team sport. It's the quarterback position. And so that's where they get all of the grace when they win. But they need the blame when they don't score a damn point in the second half.
But Zach, like you have to look deeper than that. It's not just the quarterback. Like, why did the quarterback have no time to throw? Why was the quarterback getting lit up in the pocket and fumbling the football? Why did he get hit when he was trying to throw to his hot?
I'll ask you this:
because the offensive line wasn't blocking anybody.
This is the year that they should have the best offensive line. Cade Mays is back. Trey Smith is on there. Why?
You're making my point.
Why? No, I'm asking why.
Why what?
Why did they play so bad?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said the offensive line was the biggest disappointment in the game. Because seriously, Jerry Garantano played like he's been playing the last 3 years. Some really good moments and some absolutely catastrophic moments to help you lose a game. That's what Jerry Garantano's been doing. The offensive line was the biggest letdown of the game.
But Austin, you're telling me if he does that every game, they're going to lose regardless because they're playing a better team.
Because the offensive line was nowhere
No. You're saying that Garantano is going to do this regardless, which I don't disagree with you. So what's going to make the result different if Garantano is going to play this way? They can't beat a Georgia team. They can't make the plays because the quarterback can't.
And the offensive line can't stop anybody. They go hand in hand.
If it's not the offensive line, it's something else, right? Like the main number one factor of why they cannot beat good teams is the quarterback.
Yeah, over the course of the last 3 years, yeah. But against Georgia, the offensive line let Garantano down. And that's how I feel about it. That Jarrett Garantano made plays to have them be up at halftime. He did. They couldn't run the ball in the first half either, but Jarrett Garantano made some really nice throws, a handful of nice throws to get them in scoring situation, and the defense played out of their minds for the first 3 quarters for the most part. But the offensive line was crushing Jarrett Garantano, and the answer is Jarrett Garantano is not good enough to help Tennessee get out of those bad situations.
So then
I'm not out here like carrying the flag or endorsing Jarrett Garantano. I'm just telling you what happened on Saturday night, that it started with the coaching, which trickled down to the offensive line, which then affected Jarrett Garantano. That's the answer.
So let's go to this and power to the people. I want to hear everybody else's opinion because let's get the scope of a little bit of the Tennessee fan base. The question that we're asking you, and I'll ask you this, Austin, as well, is it time to move on from Jarrett Garantano as the Vols starting quarterback? Because you had 5 tough opponents, right? Ranked opponents going into this season. You've already lost to one of them, Georgia, right? So you've got Alabama, you've got Auburn A&M, and then you got Florida. Those are your big dog, big games to see what's going to happen this year. Right now, after 3 games, the question we're asking you guys, is it time to move on from JG as the Vols starting quarterback and start looking towards the future? Or you could answer, hey, it's a little too early. We need to find out more about him. Or you could say, yes, yank his ass and let's start something special now to get some guys experience for the majority of a season that's already kind of messed up because of the coronavirus.
All right, so that's the question. We'll get to your answers here shortly, but first, Zach, tell the people about Calvin and Subtle.
Yeah, Calvin and Subtle is where you guys need to get your brand new hardwood floors this holiday season. Instead of getting a traditional gift, upgrade your house that everybody can use. CalvinandSubtle.com or 615-448-6414. That's 615-448-6414. CalvinandSubtle.com. You give them a call. They come out to your house. Or you pick out your perfect, really what you're trying to do is pick out your perfect hardwood floors. They've got samples. You go in their showroom. You can look online, 615-448-6414. Once you pick out your perfect hardwood floor, rip up that carpet. They're going to do that for you, and they're going to lay it down within 1 to 2 weeks. Install. You can't beat that. Order and install, 615-448-6414 or online at calvinandsubtle.com.
A to Z Sports. Get into your comments here in a second, but don't forget mybookie.ag. You want to bet on the NFL, on college football. If you use code MyTitans, you double your first deposit. That's a hell of a deal. Use code MyTitans at mybookie.ag to double your first deposit. The question is it time to move on from Jarrett Garantano as the Vols starting quarterback? Let's read some comments. Caleb says, nah, you ride with him the rest of the year and develop Harrison Bailey for next year. Eric says, they're rush. That's more specific. Mark says, keep JG. The East is still within reach. You lose to Kentucky. Hell yeah, pull the plug. Kevin says, I don't have much confidence in Maurer or Shrout either. Let's see. Chris says, never should have gotten the starting job in the first place. Nick says, Harrison Bailey needs to get experience this year. Ricochet Ray says, JG gives the Vols the best chance to win. How about the O-line protects better? Let's see. Dustin says, we've had a little more than 3 years to find out what he is. He's topped out. Bench him. Steven says, yeah, this should have happened last year. Well, last year, Jarrett Garantano got you in an 0-2 hole and got you in a 1-5 hole, but he also dug you out of it with really solid play down the stretch.
Indiana was a little
yeah, that Indiana game was a microcosm of the entire season for Garantano. Got you in a hole, helped get you out of it.
The first comment's rolling in. Jeremy says, JG is mediocre. It's time for a change. Charles says yes. Alan says hell yes. Brian says it's been time. William says yes. Charles says yes. Hunter says yes. That was the scope of when I was reading comments.
Sure.
They were flying in as yes, it's time. And I'll be honest, I agree with them. This season, you're not going to beat Alabama. They're too damn good, okay? So you need to start playing. I'm just going to be honest here. You got to start playing for Auburn, A&M, and Florida. And Jarrett Garantano, this is going to be a hard decision. I don't think that they will pull him. I think that he will play against Kentucky. But I think that you're going to keep – it's the definition of insanity, guys, right? You're doing the same thing over and over and over again, but you're expecting a different result. That's never going to get you anywhere. And the Tennessee Volunteers right now are in the throes of that. They keep running out Jarrett Garantano, hoping, praying, saying, this is going to be different. But you know what? He is what he is. You are who you are. And it's not good enough. You better start finding – I don't know, and here's the other thing, and I don't think anybody does, besides maybe the coaching staff, and they're going to have to make this decision. I don't know where Harrison Bailey's at right now. Is he ready? Are they willing to throw him out into the wolves of the SEC? Like, is it his time? Do you want him to get experience? You don't want to ruin him. They tried that with Brian Maurer last year. He kind of proved that he has some deficiencies. He also got concussed, and I know he was going through that last year. But and Shrout obviously ain't it. So is this time for the future to start now? Only the coaching staff have had the eyes to tell that.
So here's how I feel about this, because if you're going to bench Jarrett Garantano, you're not going to bench him for Brian Maurer or JT Shrout. Those guys have been around for a while too, and they've proven that they are not it. Like, JT Shrout is a loose cannon. He's got a big arm, but you don't know where it's going to go. Brian Maurer is very reckless. Like, you go back and look at the actual stats from Brian Maurer last year, he was so inaccurate, it wasn't comedic. It was depressing. But so why you're not going to bench Garantano for those two guys. The only person you're going to put Garantano out for is Harrison Bailey. And you're right, we don't know where Harrison Bailey's at. We don't know how ready he is because he missed spring practice because of COVID. He missed a lot of fall practice because of contact tracing with COVID. So where is he at right now? And he's a true freshman. And also, Zach Reagan wrote a good article on A to Z Sports Nashville.com this morning about how Pruitt should handle this or how he thinks Pruitt will handle this. There's another big word that comes into play here, recruiting, because Tennessee has recruited really well over the last 18 months. And over the last 18 months, they've played better football under Jeremy Pruitt in the first year. So they have to be able to get enough wins. And Jarrett Garantano is your best chance to beat Kentucky. And so you need to play Jarrett Garantano so you can absolutely beat Kentucky, because you have to have that win in order for recruiting to make it look like you're taking positive steps forward. Because 5-5 is a kind of a wet blanket type season, and it's going to maybe throw a wet blanket over your recruiting. Well, you need to get to 6-4.
Harrison Bailey comes in and plays well, right? And gives hope to all of these recruits saying, I want to go play for that guy. He made some really good plays. Still a freshman, but understand that this guy can come in. I like what I'm seeing from him. That's glass half full. You don't want to come in and wreck them, because you do still have those teams to play. But that's why Jeremy Pruitt and the coaching staff get paid as much as they do to make these tough decisions.
So my point is, I still don't think Kentucky so to answer the question directly, is it time to move on from Jarrett Garantano as a Vols starter? No, it's not, because it makes no sense to pull Garantano for Shrout or Brian Maurer. That's ridiculous. You're just putting yourself in a tougher spot. Let Jarrett Garantano go out and try to beat Kentucky for the third time in his career. And so you get to 3-1, and now you play against Alabama. And Zach, you watched that Alabama defense Saturday night. They gave up a lot of points and the most yards ever in an SEC game under Nick Saban. The Alabama defense is not as scary or intimidating as it typically is, or even was last year.
Well, the Tennessee's offense can't do what Ole Miss's offense.
I was about to say, Ole Miss's offense is way more potent than Tennessee's offense. There's no doubt about that. But I still think my plan is still in place for get through the Alabama game with Jarrett Garantano. The bye week happens at Halloween. Then you go to Arkansas after that. Now, you got to give a lot of credit for what Sam Pittman is doing with Arkansas. Arkansas is pretty tough, right? But that's at least a game where maybe Harrison Bailey, with a bye week before leading into game week, can get ready. Because you look at the second half of the schedule, Arkansas is better than you thought. Auburn's a lot worse than you thought. Texas A&M, I don't know. Jekyll and Hyde, I have no idea what's going on with that. Vanderbilt, awful. Vanderbilt got blown out by South Carolina. They're not playing. And then Florida, Zach, Florida's defense isn't that great. Florida's offense is very good. So so you still have the ability, if Harrison Bailey can get some reps and get some snaps in the second half of the season, that's where you're looking towards the future. You got to play Jarrett Garantano against Kentucky because you have to have that win for recruiting.
So I'll give you a scenario. What if Kentucky does to Tennessee kind of like they did to Mississippi State, and they get up and it's 14-2 or it's 21-7. Jarrett Garantano is not playing real well. Who do you turn to in the middle of that game? Because as you said, you can't lose to Kentucky. What do you do in that scenario?
If Tennessee gets down big against Kentucky, because is Jarrett Garantano throwing interceptions?
Yeah, he's not playing well. He's not solving the problem.
Does he have multiple turnovers? Because the only way you pull him mid-game against Kentucky is if he has multiple turnovers early.
Or if he continues to punt the football like they did in the second half. He can't move the football. He's playing like he plays.
But again, Georgia's defense, I think we've left out that Georgia's defense is probably the best defense in the entire country this year. And they were doing things up front, exotic blitzes, sending guys from different angles, and Tennessee couldn't pick it up. So Kentucky's defense is not that. Mississippi State threw 6 interceptions on Saturday. That's crazy.
You saying that from a guy who's doubting Georgia quite a bit prior to the season.
Zach, what did I doubt about Georgia? Their quarterback. And you can still doubt Stetson Bennett.
I don't know. Not after that performance. He
Stetson Bennett's not that good. Did you watch the game? Stetson Bennett's not that great.
He made plays enough to beat Tennessee.
Yes, because the Georgia defense suffocated the Vols. Stetson Bennett is nothing special. Nothing special. He is a game manager.
He looked pretty special on that run to the end zone.
Yeah, Laxbro made a play there on the run of the end zone. Also got help from an egregious block in the back that went uncalled.
Get your Vol glasses out of here.
Yeah, that was a huge block in the back. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you serious right now? Anybody should know that's a block in the back and should be called back. That's not an idiot. That's not an orange glasses thing. It was an awful.
He beat your ass. I mean, that's what happened.
He beat my ass. He beat Tennessee because his defense beat.
You're giving him a bunch of excuses, right? Like the Georgia Bulldogs are the best team in the East, just like I said they were.
The quarterback weren't.
That's what I'm trying to bring up.
Because I think Florida, look, there's still plenty of time. Georgia's got to play Alabama this week, and Florida's still got I'm surprised Florida lost that game at Texas A&M. I think everybody was too. But I think Tennessee, it's not time to pull Jarrett Garantano. You have to play him. You got to get wins you got to get this win against Kentucky. After the Kentucky game, now you can reevaluate, but you have to stick with Garantano.
If JG's not playing good against Kentucky, who are you putting in? If he gets pulled
in the middle of the game,
in the middle of the Kentucky game, who do you put in?
Probably Shrout. I think you probably have to put in Shrout at that point because he's the only guy who's had all the practice. Like that's just the situation they're in. They're in a crappy situation. You have to put in Shrout.
You don't put in Bailey.
I don't know if again they have been bringing Harrison Bailey along slowly because they're worried about his lack of practice reps. So that's my prediction. I would like to see Harrison Bailey, sure. But I think Shrout is the option of what they would actually do.
I think you put in Harrison Bailey and the future starts now. That's what I would say. But I'm not the coach. That's why they pay Jeremy Pruitt.
Seth says, screw practice. You put a baller in the game. You have no idea what Harrison Bailey is.
Well, might as well find out.
Rob says he missed 4 weeks of practice.
Again, at some point in time, training wheels got to come off and you got to take a risk. And I'm curious to see when the coaching staff is willing to take those training wheels off.
I am too. And that's why I still think Arkansas is the time you let Garantano start Georgia. You let Garantano start Alabama because you're probably not going to win that game. So you get the bye weeks to have Harrison Bailey get ready for it. That's been my plan since after the win at South Carolina.
Well, and plans sometimes go awry, and you have to have a backup plan. And so are you going to go with Seth said, screw practice, put the baller in the game? Or are you going to go with Michelle saying Harrison Bailey has not had time to learn the offense and prepare? Right? You have a conservative outlook, and you have a very aggressive outlook. I don't know what they're going to do.
You don't go as aggressive as Seth is talking about. You don't do that because that could lose you the football game real quick. Jarrett Garantano you've seen Jarrett Garantano make plays this year. He's played 2 really good games and a half. That was really good. That first half against Georgia was really, really good. He only had 2 incompletions, and they were both really accurate throws that were barely incomplete. Zach, I know that. Like you're acting like you're telling me things I don't know. The Vols quarterback situation is in bad shape because
that's why they're losing. That's who's to blame.
The offensive line on Saturday is who was to blame for me.
If you take a step back and you look at this football team and you ask Tennessee fans, why are you guys not winning big games? The answer is simple. The quarterback is not making enough plays
as a whole
for the team to win.
For the big picture, yes.
If that doesn't change, you're going to get the same result against Alabama, Auburn, A&M, and Florida.
Again, I'm agreeing with you as your big picture.
To blame.
Big picture, yes. But specifically Saturday in the second half at Georgia,
yes,
the coaching and the offensive line failed Jarrett Garantano, and Jarrett Garantano is not good enough to overcome those failings.
Then that's who's to blame, and that is what needs to be changed.
Which is what I've been saying the whole damn time for almost 40 minutes. A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. Real quick, I have an opinion about what this game should mean for the Vols rest of the season, for the future. But first, let me tell you guys about Renters Warehouse Nashville. The professional landlords in the Nashville area, renterswarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. There's so many different ways you can use Renters Warehouse during the pandemic, during these times. If you have your income lost or you lost your job, don't panic, sell your home. Renters Warehouse Nashville is where to go. Renterswarehouse.com is their website.
A to Z Sports talking Tennessee Vols after Saturday. Tough loss moves them to 2-1 on the season. Florida also 2-1 because of their loss to Texas A&M over the weekend. So also, I am curious to see what you have to say. You're going to tell us how the loss should affect your outlook on the entire season. What is that?
I think you should look at the first half against Georgia and feel positive about the ability for, and really the defense. I think you should be very excited about what the Vols can do on defense until they're put in a situation where they're playing way too many snaps and they're absolutely gassed like they were because the offense could not move the football. So you feel good about the Tennessee's defense. I think you have to. And then you look around the SEC and there's not a fully complete team in the league. Like Alabama is the most complete team because their offense is filled with weapons through the air and on the ground. Najee Harris going for 200 plus and 5 touchdowns, and Mac Jones can throw for 400 yards and a bunch of touchdowns too. Like Alabama's the most complete team, but they also gave up 650 yards to Ole Miss in a crazy game, a track meet of a game. Georgia, while you lost to that team, outstanding defense. The offense is beatable. Florida, outstanding offense. That defense is very beatable. Texas A&M is Jekyll and Hyde. Auburn, kind of like Jekyll and Hyde as well, even though they escaped Saturday against Arkansas with a win. Kentucky, I don't know what to make of Kentucky. They make stupid decisions and let Ole Miss beat them, and then they somehow shut out Mississippi State the next week. So there's a lot of confusing teams, and LSU included, but for the teams on Tennessee's schedule, Alabama is the only team that I don't see a chance in hell of them winning that game. I think Arkansas is winnable. Auburn, A&M, Vandy are obviously winnable. And Florida is a long way away because it's in the first week of December. But with what that Florida defense looks like, I think there's a chance Tennessee can play well in a game that's going to be a higher scoring game. And you see how Tennessee's defense comes along throughout the year. I don't think this Georgia loss should deflate your feelings about what this season can be because the SEC is weird as hell. It's crazy. And you watched games on Saturday and you just saw how nutso this league is this year. So look, it was a disaster and a collapse of a second half. And you should absolutely be pissed off about how the offense played in the second half and how they left their defense out to dry in the second half. But I think you can tell this team's a lot better. They're a lot more competitive. And they also did that without their best pass rusher in DeAndre Johnson for the majority of that game too.
See, I understand what you're saying. I think that the reason why it is and should be devastating is because of the opportunity Tennessee got and didn't take advantage, right?
Sure.
And the repercussions are mighty. And the repercussions are now you're 2 games back behind Georgia and you play Alabama. So you're really like Georgia plays Alabama. I don't know who's going to win that game. Alabama's going to beat Tennessee. So now you could sit there and say that loss puts you 3 games back. That's why it's deflating and demoralizing because Florida is your real opportunity at the end of the year to beat a team that could be in the running to flip. And Georgia, you had them on the ropes. You were leading at halftime, and you let a now driver's seat opportunity slip into a possible 3-game working behind the 8 ball. And that's where they are.
Well, I guess
They're 3 games back.
The reason why I'm looking at it that way is, and I didn't go into this season with thinking that Tennessee was competing for the East. I think it would have been delusional to walk into this year thinking that way. And so for me, I'm not focused on the SEC East race. I'm looking more at, can Tennessee get to 6-4, 7-3 by maybe beating Auburn, A&M, and the teams you're supposed to beat, and maybe seeing if you have a shot at Florida in December. That's how I view this season. It's not about winning the SEC East in 2020. It's about taking the next step, recruiting well again, developing more players, and in 2021, now in a more normal year, what does it look like?
No, it's about beating the big name teams. Can you do that? They're 0-1. Can they go? And there's 5 of them, right? So at the season's end, are you 2-3? Are you 4-1? Are you 0-5?
If Tennessee is 2-3 against those 5 big name teams and they beat the 5 they're supposed to, you absolutely take that. 7-3, every Tennessee fan would have signed up for it.
Yeah, but Garantano doesn't show you that that's gonna happen.
Maybe not.
No. That's what that's off the table. There's maybe not.
He beat Auburn on the road last year or 2 years ago, and that was the really
2 years ago. Like, okay, that's gone. We moved on from that. That was 2 years ago. Well, we were out of hell 2 years ago, right? So that doesn't. That does not matter to me. Okay, what you did 2 years ago against an Auburn team does not matter. Okay, you have to prove that you've grown up, you've learned your lessons, you've gotten better, and you make less mistakes. I don't think he's done any of that.
Look, again, I'm not a Jarrett Garantano fan. I respect his toughness and his willing to stick through it, but the guy is extremely limited as a quarterback. And he's been, and I tweeted this during the South Carolina game. He's holding his football program back.
So now it's time to change, pass on the baton.
Not against Kentucky. You got to have Jarrett Garantano to beat Kentucky. That's just the situation they're in. But yeah, he's holding them back as a program. And at some point this year, they have to get Harrison Bailey some action. They have to. But I do think Tennessee can win a couple of those games in the second half of the season against Auburn, A&M, and Florida. If they win 2 out of those 3, I think this is an absolute success, regardless of who.
And guys, I'm not sitting here. I'm not a Tennessee fan. I didn't go to Tennessee. And Rob throws out the laughing joke of misery loves company. Ole Miss sucks too. Ole Miss in a different situation than Tennessee is, right? Altogether. Ole Miss has their problems. I'm the first to tell you about those. But one of the jobs I have on this show when we talk Vols is to not be completely negative, but I'm not sitting here with a dog in the hunt. So I'm more real. I'm more realistic of that's why I've watched all the games just like everybody else. Garantano can't get you to where you want to go. I just tweeted that simple phrase out and it got like 50 responses and 400 likes. And that was not my intention. I tweeted that out because I truly believe that. And Tennessee fans need to start playing guys that can get them to where they need to go.
Okay, and Charles says Maurer is better than Jarrett Garantano. No, he's not. Brian Maurer is not better than Jarrett Garantano.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. You don't look at anybody else. Look at the guy who's playing now. You're going to continue to hurt yourself and be disappointed if he continues to play.
So who are you? But you think Harrison Bailey should be playing?
I think that the coaching staff needs to figure out who gives them the best opportunity to win.
Zach, they're answering that question and telling you it's Jarrett Garantano.
That's not my opinion. Give you a great opportunity to beat big teams.
It doesn't. But does it give you an opportunity to beat Kentucky?
Why are you playing the game?
Well, because Kentucky's on Saturday. That's the next game. Yes, Kentucky is where Jarrett Garantano can help you win that game. Brian Maurer and JT Shrout are not better than Jarrett Garantano. Harrison Bailey absolutely has a higher ceiling than Jarrett Garantano, but the guy has not even had a chance to fully practice over the last few months because of contact tracing, which is unfortunate.
Well, okay, so if it's not Harrison Bailey, then utilize what they did last year. Throw in a little Shrout, throw in a little Maurer, throw in a little JG. So Garantano doesn't have to play the whole game because if he plays the whole game, he's going to make mistakes. He's going to throw the ball into the turf or get a sack fumble or throw an interception. So maybe on those drives, you play somebody else and get their juice. I don't know. That worked last year sometime. But what they're doing, if Jarrett Garantano plays the rest of the year without sitting down, plays the rest of the snaps, Tennessee will win 4 games. Maybe 5, but 4 games.
And Zach Reagan's right. Pruitt has shown that he'll do that. and it will probably happen because he did it. He started Brian Maurer, true freshman, against Georgia last year and didn't think twice about it.
Right. So I expect that to happen because Pruitt is not insane. Okay. He's not going to do things and expect different results. He's going to change and adapt because Nick Saban, that's probably what he told him and taught him is you got to, if some guy can't do the job, you got to find somebody who will.
And Rob says Jerry Garantano was better off the bench last year because they had a freshman quarterback game plan. And that's a indictment last year where a fourth-year junior was only successful when he had a freshman quarterback game plan. And so now you think Jarrett Garantano – so far, Jarrett Garantano has been better this year than he was last year or has been in his career. He had an awful, awful, awful second half against Georgia when the entire offense could do nothing right. And so it's just I think Jarrett Garantano deserves an opportunity to bounce back against Kentucky and to see if he can win that game and then move forward from there.
Well, just don't beat your head against the wall. Keep thinking that Garantano's gonna the light switch is not going to turn on.
And I'm not beating my head against that wall. The light switch is where the light switch is.
I'm talking to Tennessee fans.
I'm just making it clear.
You're included in that.
Well, okay, so now you are including me when you said you're not including me. I'm making it clear that I don't think Jarrett Garantano is the answer. I think he's limited. He's holding the program back. But right now, that's the option they have. And that's the unfortunate situation the Vols have been in at quarterback for now multiple years.
Well, we'll find out. I think we have a good SEC question.
No doubt.
A lot of people talking trash about Ole Miss. I'd love to hear that. And at the Mississippi State people, they were talking trash. This has been a crazy LSU thinking. I mean, there's so many different things to choose from with this question.
Yeah.
Here's one. You watch SEC, and you could throw the Vols into this. What was the biggest shocker of the SEC weekend? I think you have so much to choose from besides – I don't know. Were you that shocked that Vandy got blown out?
41-7? Yeah.
I don't think they're going to win a game this year.
I know. And Missouri. Okay, we'll get to that. What was the biggest shocker of the SEC weekend? But first, Zach, tell the people about Tucker Agency.
Yeah, Tucker Agency could save you money whether you're here in Nashville, in the state of Tennessee, in Knoxville, all over the country. They are Nashville's independent insurance agency, but you can change your insurance to the Tucker Agency. Save 20%. Email will@tuckertn.com. That's will, W-I-L-L, @tuckertn.com. His team will help you in a massive way get restructured and make sure your policy is right for you and your family or whoever your policy is about, and save cash at the same time. That's will@tuckertn.com. The average customer saves 20%. Say, hey, I heard about you on A to Z Sports. How do I save money on my insurance? That's all you have to do. His team will do the rest of the work for you.
All right, A to Z Sports. Don't forget mybookie.ag, code MyTitans to double your first deposit right there to bet on some of these NFL. Zach, I don't know if you saw this. We got a Britches report from Jim Wyatt during the show. The Titans Britches report is back. So
let me get. I want to guess. I have not seen it.
Guess real quick. Don't look at comments.
They're at home, all navy blue.
All navy blue is correct. The Britches report is out. But
that's awesome. I did not.
Yes, very exciting there for the Tennessee Titans who've been off for what feels like 2 months. So what was the biggest surprise for the SEC weekend? Let's read some comments first. Derek says Ole Miss putting 48 on Bama's defense. He says LSU getting beat was his biggest shocker. Jeff says, told y'all Mizzou wasn't bad, with hands up emojis. I think that's sarcasm. Ricochet Ray says Arkansas being robbed against Auburn. Louis says Mizzou. Tony says LSU not playing Eric Gilbert the last half of the game. Jeff Rubel again says Bama giving up a half hundo to Ole Miss was surprising. Kyle saying Ole Miss or LSU. Charles says Kentucky thought they were going to get boat race. That's the sneaky thing is like Kentucky just shut out the air raid. Mike Leach,
they scored 2 points. They didn't get shut out.
The air raid, Zach. The offense got shut out.
Wait, before you said they got shut out and they scored 2
I
points.
said the air raid got shut out.
Before you said Mississippi State, you didn't say that.
I said Mike Leach got shut out. Mike Leach getting shut out.
He's the head coach, though. I mean, right?
Okay,
like,
come on, you know what I'm saying, right?
No, I didn't. That's why I said it.
My goodness, you're better than that. All right, but seriously, like isn't that crazy that Has Mike Leach's offense ever gotten shut out before? That stat has to be out there.
No way.
And Kentucky, of all places, did it. Ethan Ramsey says LSU really is that bad. Zach, what was yours?
Honestly, so LSU did not surprise me as much as others because they have a quarterback problem, right? They don't have a quarterback, they're never going to win. It's first and goal and they can't score. First goal, second goal, like what is going on? So that's their fundamental problem. I believe that my biggest shocker was that Texas A&M beat Florida. The Ole Miss thing, I knew Ole Miss was going to score points. Now, did Alabama, was it closer than I thought? Yes. But at the end of that game, if you watch that game, I never thought Ole Miss was going to win. I never thought Ole Miss was going to win. I thought that they could force overtime. But here's the difference. Alabama does not make mistakes on their own. So Lane Kiffin had to do that onside kick to make his own luck, right? Alabama, that's why they're so good and they're so well coached, is they are going to do everything to go down and score, and Ole Miss's defense is so bad. Mississippi State was a little bit of a surprise, but I just thought Florida was better than Texas A&M. I expect you compared them to Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
A&M, I don't trust anymore. I used to think that they were the bee's knees. And then Mond plays really good, and then he plays really bad, right? And this was one of his really good games. I just thought Florida was better. I thought that they would get a pull away at the second half, and they didn't.
What did you think about Dan Mullen complaining about the crowd at Texas A&M? Because that was not 25%. There's no way in hell that was 25%.
No, it wasn't. It was like probably out of the 100,000, it was probably 60,000.
It was so many people.
I mean, I'll be honest. Probably not going to love this opinion, but I love to see it because it gets us back closer to normal.
I don't want people cheating the rules, though, right?
Welcome to America.
welcome to the SEC.
Welcome to America. People are not going to follow the rules. We've learned that in a pandemic, and they're not going to follow the rules when it comes to Texas money. And so they're going to get paid. They're going to find a way in the stadium. I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it, but that's my own personal opinion on the virus. It's not anybody else's.
It's not about the virus. It's about the fact that they said 25% capacity.
Because of the virus.
And they just blatantly – but it's not about your opinion on the virus. It's about the fact that they said 25% capacity and blatantly disregarded it.
Well, it's the same way if Georgia last week looked a lot more full than what they said.
Right.
Because people want to watch football. They want to be there. These games are entertaining. It's normalcy. And so it is my opinion because I'm sitting there not I like to see it. I don't hate to see it.
I think Zach Reagan brought up the stat that Mississippi State threw 70 passes. That doesn't even count sacks or quarterback scrambles. But they threw the ball 70 times and scored 0 offensive points. Meanwhile, Kentucky only had 73 passing yards. That just the difference of that game is just bizarre. So your biggest surprise was that A&M beat Florida?
Yeah, I just thought Florida was going to win. I thought that they were better than that. I thought Kyle Trask, what they had shown prior, I think you brought it up, they've got a defensive problem.
Right.
And that was shown against Kellen Mond, who was making some big plays.
Yeah, that big touchdown pass to Chapman towards the end I did not see that coming from Kellen Mond.
Florida made the big mistake.
Yeah, and I don't know, what the hell are they doing running the ball? Just let Kyle Trask throw it. That pissed me off so much because Friday when we did our pop-up live about SEC picks, I was so high on Florida minus 6.5, and they still had it in hand. They still had it in hand because all they had to do was go down and score a touchdown with no time left, and they win by 7, and we all cover and we all make money.
Or were you? Because you're a Tennessee guy, were you happy?
I was pissed. I was furious. I asked my wife. I was watching the game in the living room.
But you wanted Florida to lose.
I wanted Florida minus 6.5, Zach.
But it's not like you're losing big money on the game.
I don't care. I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to win my bets. And plus, I came on and told all of you guys how great of a pick that Florida minus 6.5 was. I was pissed. I was furious. When they fumbled the football, I let a big string of cuss words. I was so mad.
That's surprising. I think that's Well, I won't get into the reason.
Look, I'm all about my bets, man. I'm a bigger fan of me
And
than
you
I
didn't do
am.
very well.
I know. I'm a bigger fan of me than I am the Tennessee Vols.
There you go. I do think so. I want to touch on this because you bring up. I think Mark says just got here. Ole Miss had him on the ropes. Lane getting a couple of recruiting classes in. You talked about Tennessee recruiting. Ole Miss is doing the things I would take, and this is crazy, just in the recruiting long-term thing. I would take the game against Alabama than the Mississippi State win over LSU to start the season and them being awful the next two games.
Yeah.
You got to go with recruiting trends.
Sure. A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. Let's get to our inner show topic. This is going to be funny. It's National Bank Online Day or Online Bank Day. National Online Bank Day. Do you pay your bills online or via mail? This is basically a live poll for everybody watching. Do you pay your bills online or via mail? But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Make sure when that injury happens in life, whether it's to you, a family member, one of your kids playing sports, boneandjointtn.org is where to go. They've got over a dozen doctors who do a phenomenal job. And whatever injury you might have or whatever joint replacement you might need down the road, they have someone there to help you get back on the right track. boneandjointtn.org.
All right, the question is, do you pay your bills by mail or online? I'm very curious about this. I have a feeling one's going to win because of our demographic, but
Yeah, right.
I want to kind of be surprised. And also, I don't know how you pay your bills either. Greg says online. Rob says online. Tony says online. Jeff says online mobile app. Damari says online. Zach says online. I'm not 65. Charles says online. Louis says online. Alex says online. Kelkins, this is a straight sweep. Crystal says online. Mark says online. And this shouldn't be surprised because how are they watching this show?
Online.
Antonio says everything online. I do know there are people out there that still pay by mail, though.
Like, so bills, we're talking about electric, cable.
Do you pay anything by mail?
By mail, no. But I do drop off a check for rent.
Okay, because you can't.
I can.
Okay. Yeah.
It's easier. It's more convenient for me to drop it off at the place than to mail it because that's annoying. Or if I do it online via like credit card or whatever, then there's a charge fee. So I just go drop it off.
That makes sense. And that's smart. I completely understand that.
Yes. So, but everything else is online.
Yeah, I'm online. I don't even it's on direct to pull out, automatic withdrawal. I don't I look at what the cost each month is, but I don't they don't fluctuate that much. Let's just be honest. The only fluctuation that we've had is more people being at home, right? Mm-hmm. Because of the pandemic. But the bills haven't gone up that much, in my opinion.
Matt says, saw a study recently that 50% of people do not know how to write a check.
I don't doubt that at all.
50%?
Millennials, young millennials or Gen Zers, whatever you want to call them, I doubt that they know how to write a check. That's just not something that they would learn. They
James
sure don't know what a cashier's check is. Or a traveler's check. Do you remember a traveler's check?
Vaguely. But I write checks all the time. I mean, but we also run a business, so that involves writing checks.
But it's just changed. I'll Venmo you, right? The transaction of money or PayPal, or Zillow, or not Zillow, there's Zelle. There's so many different ways to transfer money that I don't carry cash ever.
I'll say this. So there's a pumpkin patch that we go to that's like a local home farm grown, not corporate Kroger, right? But it's like a pumpkin patch we go to get some pumpkins. And last year they were cash or check only. And so we just go there on a whim and of course not prepared and just get there and have to go home and bring back the money or bring back a check. And so, but this year I forgot about that. We get there and I was like, damn it, we did it again. Now I got to go home and get this check to pay for these damn pumpkins. I got to make 2 trips. And they're like, oh, we have Venmo this year. I'm like, thank God. Like, thank God you have Venmo this year. Like, I think that pumpkin patch is the last place to get Venmo on the earth. Like they were the last place to it, but they got it this year, and that's all that matters.
And that's the ease of the transaction, right? Yeah. I've just started doing this.
And Kelton's nailed it. Yes, the John Trotwood Moore Middle School pumpkin patch. That's the exact one.
Something that I wish was more prevalent. If you have a credit card, you know how you can just push to touch to pay? It has a little like side Wi-Fi signal that instead of inserting your credit card into it, but you don't use it as often.
I don't think about it.
I know, and I have to think about it more. Or sometimes they're broken, and it's like, well, why do I even have this?
I did that at the gas station one time because it had that, and I usually try to whenever I see that signal, I'm like, oh, this is fun. I get to do this because it's like a treat for me.
It's easier.
And then it messed up, and I had to go inside and get the guy to reset it. So I'm like, why am I even doing this? Like, what? Just put the damn card in where it's supposed to go.
It's contactless, and that's. But I feel like half the time you try to use that, they're like, well, it's broken. Put your card in.
Yeah, I hate that too. All right, guys. Look, I mean, so I think did anybody pay via mail? I mean, we've got because I'm not doing that via mail. My one thing that's not online is not via mail. I don't mail it. But everything else is online. Medical stuff too. That allergy bill.
I mean, I hate mail in general. Like that, if you shade on mail every day of the week, 7 days a week, 365. I hate mail. I hate mail. I don't like paper. I don't want any of it. I don't like filing cabinets. I don't want any of that stuff. If you want to contact me, track me down or email me. Right? That's not like my mailman hates me. Because I never check it, and every time I do, it's just like packed to the gills of my box because I just don't want to see it.
Bobby says my wife has a single mail-in bill, so we got one. Out of everybody who watched and answered, we got one.
Bobby's wife,
Mrs. Bobby. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Great Monday show. The Titans got the Bridges report. The Titans are playing. Mark asked, did you cover the Titans game? It's on still. Yes. So we did not talk Titans this morning because frankly, there wasn't like a next level conversation. Buck had a good conversation last night. So you can check that out from A to Z Sports Primetime. The Titans are supposed to have a similar type walkthrough practice. Treat this like a Saturday today. So the Titans are getting ready for the Bills. Tomorrow night we'll be live at the Mainstay. We'll talk more about that tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you guys later.
Adios.